It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Power is not surrendered in a single dramatic collapse. It is chipped away through small, deliberate strikes that often go unnoticed. Disrespect does not always arrive as open hostility. It slips in quietly, disguised as a harmless joke, a delayed acknowledgement, or a backhanded compliment. These are not trivial accidents. They are calculated tests of your defenses, the probing attacks before an open coup. If you let them pass without recognition, you signal weakness, and weakness in the game of power invites more aggression. Most status loss begins with these invisible offenses. A co-worker interrupts you mid-sentence, and you allow it to slide. A friend frames an insult as humor, and you force a laugh. A manager ignores your contribution in a meeting, and you stay silent. Each time you tolerate the slight, you surrender ground on the battlefield of perception. Just as a commander who leaves a flank unguarded invites enemy infiltration, your silence allows others to advance unchecked. What seems like a minor concession becomes the precedent for further encroachment. The fortress of your dignity weakens not from a siege engine, but from repeated scratches at the gate. These hidden acts operate as psychological warfare. They are designed to test how much disrespect you will absorb before reacting. In competitive environments, workplaces, friendships, even families, individuals often assert dominance through subtle challenges. They want to know, will you defend your throne, or will you yield space without a fight? If you collapse into defensiveness, you show fragility. If you ignore the offense entirely, you show complicity. Both responses embolden the aggressor. The only stance that preserves status is composed confrontation, where you reveal neither rage nor passivity, but unshakable control. Imagine a colleague makes a cutting remark in front of others, aiming to reduce your standing. If you lash out angrily, you lose composure and appear unstable. If you force a smile and remain quiet, you validate the insult. The higher ground lies in calmly reclaiming the floor. Reassert your point with clarity, lock eyes without flinching, and continue as though their attempt failed to dent your authority. You have neither escalated nor submitted. You have shown that your throne cannot be shaken by petty maneuvers. The cost of silence in these moments is greater than the temporary discomfort of response. When you fail to defend your position, you train others to treat your presence as negotiable. Over time, small acts of disrespect accumulate into a narrative that you are safe to dismiss. This erosion is slow but lethal. Power decays not through sudden defeat, but through tolerated indignities that stack until your influence collapses under their weight. Command yourself to act early. Identify disrespect when it appears in its smallest form. Guard your perimeter as a general guards the weakest point of the wall. Respond with composure, not hostility. Reclaim the ground without apology. Make it clear that even the lightest strike will not go unanswered. In doing so, you prevent the probing attack from becoming a full assault. Respect begins where your silence ends. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Machiavelli's words remind you that the seat of power is never external first. It begins in the mind. Before you can demand respect from others, you must govern yourself as if your inner world were a throne room. If your beliefs are weak, if your standards are low, if your boundaries are porous, then no army, no allies and no defenses outside will preserve your authority. The throne of your mind is the command center. When you let it be occupied by doubt, self-loathing or hesitation, you give away your crown before anyone challenges you. Cognitive sovereignty is the first duty of command. You must decide that your worth is not negotiable. Many lose this battle silently. They allow inner voices, old failures, criticisms from childhood, doubts planted by rivals to become advisors in their court. These advisors whisper poison, and like weak princes, they listen. The result is paralysis, timidity, or the constant need for validation. To rule your mind is to identify these false counselors and banish them. Their seat belongs to conviction, discipline, and clarity. Replace the whisper of weakness with the command of strength. Weak. Maybe I'm not good enough. Strong. I decide what I am capable of. Weak. I hope they respect me. Strong. I respect myself, therefore I command respect. The inner court must be purified. You cannot sit on a throne surrounded by traitors and expect loyalty. Every time you accept corrosive self-talk, you allow your own guards to desert you. Train yourself to interrogate every thought. Ask, does this voice strengthen my rule, or does it undermine it? If it undermines, it must be removed without hesitation. Just as a prince who tolerates conspirators in his palace invites rebellion, you invite collapse if you let old scripts rule unchecked. History offers clear warnings. Princes who doubted their right to rule lost kingdoms. Not because enemies were stronger, but because their hesitation made allies uncertain and enemies bold. In Florence, in Milan, across Europe, rulers who displayed uncertainty were undone faster than those who erred with decisiveness. A throne without inner certainty is an invitation for invasion. Your practical command is this: master the throne of your mind. Build cognitive sovereignty by defining unshakable standards. Remove disloyal advisors in the form of corrosive thoughts. Hold court only with beliefs that strengthen your rule. Stand each day as if your crown depends on inner discipline, because it does. The man who commands himself cannot be overthrown easily, for his fortress is built first within. Rule the mind, or the mind will rule you. It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune favors the bold. The same principle applies to the way you begin your day. Morning is not a casual prelude. It is the battlefield where the first lines of power are drawn. If you rise without command, you start the day already on the defensive. If you rise with intention, you dictate the rhythm of the hours ahead. The first impression you give to yourself and to the world is either one of authority or surrender. Like a general at dawn, you must establish order before the chaos of conflict begins. Command at dawn is not about long rituals or borrowed trends. It is about decisive acts that declare your sovereignty over the day. When you wake and move with clarity, you project dominance in your very posture and tone. The way you carry yourself in the first hour sets the image others will respond to. Weak, I'll see how the day goes. Strong, the day will follow my command. Weak, I'll try to fit things in. Strong, I schedule, I execute, I lead. By enforcing command at dawn, you send a clear signal to your own mind that you are in control. That inner certainty translates outward into how people treat you. Defensive walls must also be raised before you leave your quarters. In a world designed to invade your attention, distraction is a form of disrespect. Every notification, every demand, every careless intrusion eats away at your focus and erodes your authority. Build walls by deciding what enters your mind first. Guard the first hour like a fortress. No aimless scrolling, no reactive replies, no surrender to noise. When you let others dictate your early focus, you start the day on their terms. A ruler who opens his gates at dawn invites plunder. You must choose what and who gains entry. Modern leaders understand this principle. Many high-level executives, generals, and political figures begin their mornings with decisive routines that shape perception. Some exercise to harden the body, others read or write to sharpen the mind. Many plan the day with precision before engaging with the world. The details vary, but the message is constant. Power is not left to chance. By acting with discipline in the morning, they project strength throughout the day. Your task is the same. Seize the morning as if it were contested ground. Stand tall, move decisively, guard your focus, and dictate the first moves of the day. In war, the side that controls the dawn often controls the victory. The same law governs your daily life. Win the morning, win the throne. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. This truth reveals the brutal weight of perception. What people cannot read in you unsettles them more than what they know. Stillness then becomes a weapon. In every confrontation, the one who speaks first exposes a position, while the one who observes retains the higher ground. Silence is not absence, it is pressure. A predator does not rush to strike. It locks its gaze, studies weakness, and moves only when certainty is absolute. You must adopt this gaze to detect disrespect before it hardens into open attack. Silent observation allows you to see what others miss. A change in tone, a subtle smirk, a rushed interruption, these are often the opening shots of hidden disrespect. Most people respond instantly, defending themselves in haste, but the one who pauses gains clarity. Neuroscience shows that delaying response by even a few seconds reduces impulsivity and strengthens control over emotional reactions. In that pause, your rational brain takes command from your reactive impulses. By holding still, you buy perspective, and perspective is leverage. Strategic delay unsettles opponents because it denies them predictable rhythm. If someone throws a barbed comment and you respond immediately, you play on their timeline. If you remain composed, you create doubt. Is he ignoring me? Is he planning a counter? That uncertainty becomes your armor. Leaders across history have wielded silence as a weapon in negotiation and conflict. When rulers withheld their words, they forced others to reveal more, exposing needs and weaknesses that speech would have concealed. In this way, silence was not passivity but pressure, an invisible siege. Consider a modern setting. A colleague challenges your idea in front of others. The instinct is to fire back, to reassert authority immediately. Instead, you look at him calmly, let the room quiet, and then speak slowly with precision. The room shifts. What began as an attack becomes an exposure of his impatience. Your composure communicates that you are not threatened. You turn the disrespect into a lesson without raising your voice. Weak. You're wrong. Let me explain. Strong. Let's examine this carefully. Weak. I don't agree. Strong. Here's what stands. Language, when paired with stillness, hardens into command. The essence of this strategy is not withdrawal, but timing. By refusing to react on demand, you force others to reveal their intent while you conserve your position. Stillness transforms provocation into data, delay into strategy, and silence into intimidation. You are not ignoring, you are calculating. You are not retreating, you are choosing the ground of battle. Stillness is power unseen. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This principle strikes directly at the heart of disrespect. Tolerance of repeated offenses erodes your credibility more than any single insult. Power is not lost in one dramatic collapse, but in a slow drip of ignored slights. Like a fortress left with cracks, what begins as small trespasses soon becomes structural failure. To protect your status, you must enforce a ruthless elimination strategy, cutting out repeat offenders, whether the behavior or the person itself. A boundary is not truly a boundary unless it carries a kill switch. The first infraction can be corrected with clarity, but when microaggressions repeat, escalation must follow. If someone interrupts you once, you reassert the flaw. If they interrupt again, you state the consequence and deliver it. Weak. Please don't do that. Strong, do that again, and we end this conversation. Weak. I don't like it when, strong, that behavior has no place here. The difference is decisive enforcement. Without it, people test your tolerance, like invaders probing for weak spots. History shows what happens when leaders delay. Machiavelli warned princes against letting conspiracies fester. When threats were addressed early, they were crushed. When ignored, they multiplied. In Florence and beyond, rulers who tolerated small plots were eventually destroyed by them. The lesson is universal. If you see disrespect recur, act swiftly. Cut the pattern before it roots itself in the culture around you. A ruler who hesitates signals that offense carries no cost. Modern arenas reflect the same truth. In business, managers who ignore repeat offenders undermine their own authority. Human resources often advises progressive discipline, but the underlying principle is the same. Unchecked behavior poisons teams and damages leadership credibility. In personal life, tolerating ongoing disrespect from friends or partners signals self-betrayal. By acting decisively, you not only stop the offender but also demonstrate to everyone watching that your respect is non-negotiable. People trust boundaries that are defended. Consider a disagreement handled with calm leadership. A colleague continually cuts across you in meetings. The first time, you state firmly, "Let me finish." The second time, you stop, meet his eyes, and say, "If you interrupt again, this discussion ends now." Delivered without anger, this eliminates the behavior immediately. The room understands your boundaries are not suggestions, but lines of command. To hold status, you must learn to remove without hesitation. Sometimes that means cutting the action. Other times it means cutting the relationship. Mercy has its place, but when respect is at stake, delay is decay. The fortress of your credibility stands only as long as you guard its gates with force. Respect once lost is never returned. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. The lesson is not cruelty but control. Your authority must project certainty, not volatility. Power dissolves the moment your emotions spill unchecked. To command respect, you must wear the mask of command, an exterior of discipline that shields the turbulence beneath. Non-verbal cues reveal more than speeches. Posture, micro-expressions, and stillness speak louder than words. A bowed head or restless hands signal doubt. Squared shoulders and calm eyes project dominance. Think of yourself as a general on the battlefield. Even when the fight is uncertain, soldiers read the steadiness of your stance as proof that the line will hold. Weak. I'm not sure, maybe we could try. Strong. We will proceed this way. Language follows the body. If your form crumbles, your words carry no weight. Controlled fire separates leaders from pretenders. You do not respond to every spark with an inferno. Silence can be deadlier than shouting because it forces others into discomfort, revealing their insecurity. Neuroscience shows that delaying your reaction activates higher centers of the brain, letting you choose with precision instead of impulse. Appear merciful, yet be feared. This is the razor's edge. Show patience. But when you decide to speak, cut with clarity. Command demands timing as much as content. Modern leaders understand image discipline as a weapon. A CEO walking into a tense boardroom knows that one raised eyebrow can still a room more effectively than a raised voice. Generals standing at the front of troops embody calm even when the odds are brutal. Political figures hold their composure before hostile media, knowing that a single grimace can be replayed as weakness. These leaders are not emotionless, they are strategic in what they reveal. The mask is not deception, but armor. Imagine a workplace confrontation. A peer undermines you with a sarcastic remark during a meeting. Instead of snapping back, you pause, let silence expand, then deliver one steady line. That tone doesn't serve this discussion. The calm cuts sharper than anger, the offender loses ground, and the group sees your authority as measured, not fragile. Your authority is the mask you craft each morning and maintain through each challenge. Stand tall, even under pressure. Guard your face and voice as carefully as a throne room. Guard shields the gate. Speak less, mean more, cut without showing rage. To command respect, control your display as tightly as you control your decisions. The mask you wear becomes the power they obey. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. The lesson is brutal but precise. What wounds your sense of status carves deeper than personal loss, and yet the cruelest betrayals often come not from enemies, but from the part of you that grants permission to be diminished. Every act of disrespect you tolerate begins with an internal surrender. Before you defeat rivals on the field, you must execute the traitor within. Think of yourself as a commander guarding a fortress. The walls are your boundaries, the gates are your standards, and the enemy cannot enter unless you open the door from inside. Limiting beliefs are those hidden gatekeepers whispering that you must endure insult, laugh off contempt, or shrink in silence. The mind repeats lies. You are too sensitive, you cannot speak up, you might lose approval. These whispers are not humility, they are sabotage. They disguise weakness as virtue, leaving your status to rot from within. Spot the traitor by noticing when you rationalize submission. If the thought begins with fear of rejection, it is not strategy, it is surrender. To purge sabotage, you must train like a warrior stripping rust from steel. Begin with language. Words are weapons, and careless ones slice your authority. Weak. Sorry, I just think. Strong, here is my view. Weak. If it's okay, I'll add something. Strong, I will add this. Weak. Maybe I misunderstood. Strong. Clarify this point. Each correction feels small, yet repeated over time, it forges armor. Do not wait for a crisis to sharpen your blade. Daily, in conversations, enforce this purge. Speak with clean lines, not apologies. Hold your ground in posture as much as in speech. Psychology confirms this battlefield. Learned helplessness occurs when repeated defeats convince you resistance is futile. You stop testing your strength, even when the door is open. Assertiveness training reverses that condition by rehearsing controlled resistance until it becomes second nature. Each time you hold silence instead of rushing to apologize, you teach your nervous system that you can endure tension without collapse. Each time you state a need clearly without flinch, you build divan that respect follows clarity. It is not aggression, it is ownership. Where helplessness chains you, assertiveness cuts links one by one. Consider a workplace exchange. A colleague interrupts you mid-sentence, assuming you will yield as usual. Instead, you stop speaking, hold steady eye contact, and when they finish, you resume with calm precision. I wasn't done. Let me complete this thought. No raised voice, no apology, no retreat. The silence becomes the weapon. The words close the strike. You reclaim the floor, not through volume, but through certainty. The message is unmistakable. Your time is not disposable. Every soldier of the mind must learn to execute inner saboteurs with the coldness of an assassin. Excuses, apologies, hesitation. Cut them at the root. Replace them with steel phrases and firm stances. Guard the gates of your mind as fiercely as a throne room. Guard blocks entry. When you kill self-sabotage, you deny enemies their easiest weapon. The battle outside is hard enough. Do not arm them with your own weakness. Slay the traitor within before you face the enemy without. It is better to be feared than loved. if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's warning applies not only to rulers, but to anyone who wants to preserve status. Yet fear alone does not guard your reputation. No wolf hunts in isolation. The strength of a leader is multiplied or eroded by the pack they assemble. Allies are not ornaments. They are extensions of your authority, teeth that bite when you are not present, eyes that watch when you turn your back. In every group, power is maintained through silent agreements about rank. These are the pack dynamics of human psychology. People instinctively look for signals of who is defended and who is exposed. When others see that your allies rally around you, they register your position as protected territory. When they see you stand alone, they test boundaries more easily. Respect is reinforced not just by how you act, but by how those beside you act on your behalf. If your circle tolerates disrespect toward you, they broadcast weakness. If they guard your name and space, they broadcast strength. Therefore, recruitment is not casual. A wise commander does not hand weapons to strangers. You must choose allies who respect your standards and amplify them. Do not gather people who drain, excuse, or undermine you. Select those who can enforce silence when gossip appears, who back your word when questioned, and who make it clear that crossing you means facing more than one. Loyalty is proven in small acts, often when you are not in the room. The true ally maintains your status even in absence, just as a wolf guards the perimeter while the alpha rests. History gives clarity. Machiavelli wrote of auxiliaries and native troops. Auxiliaries are borrowed forces useful for display, but dangerous when relied upon, for their loyalty belongs elsewhere. Native troops, your own people, fight for you because their fortune is tied to yours. Translate this today. Acquaintances who seek convenience are auxiliaries. They may praise you when present, but vanish at the first cost. Trusted allies who rise when your reputation is questioned are native troops. Build with the second, limit reliance on the first. Consider a moment of subtle disagreement. A colleague mocks your idea in a meeting. Before you speak, an ally interjects. Hold on, let's hear it through. There's weight at this point. Their calm defense stabilizes the room before you even respond. You then deliver your thought with clarity without needing to fight for basic respect. This is the function of the pack, to extend your authority without noise or overreaction. Your ally enforces the boundary. You continue the mission. Do not mistake numbers for strength. A large circle filled with auxiliaries is weaker than a small circle bound by loyalty. Choose carefully. Test quietly. Observe how people behave when the situation costs them comfort. Those who protect you when it is inconvenient are worth keeping. Those who vanish when tension rises should be released. The wolf pack is not democratic. It is selective, disciplined, and structured around survival. Your task is clear. Recruit selectively. Maintain standards that your allies understand without constant reminders. Remove those who excuse disrespect. Strengthen those who uphold it. Protect your own reputation by ensuring others will defend it in your absence. You are not building companionship, you are building an enforcement system. The pack magnifies the alpha. The allies magnify the leader. The stronger the circle, the clearer the throne stands untouchable. Feed the wolf that defends your name, starve the one that weakens it. It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and if she is to be submissive, it is necessary to beat and coerce her. Machiavelli's line reminds you that status is not preserved by passivity. Life is a chessboard, and disrespect is the opponent's opening gambit. If you wait too long to see where the pieces fall, you have already lost control of the game. The first task is pattern recognition. Every act of disrespect begins small, disguised as humor, framed as a slip, or masked in subtle tones. A colleague makes a half smile while dismissing your point. A friend repeatedly interrupts you mid-sentence. These are pawns moving forward, two squares, seemingly harmless but signaling strategy. The opponent tests your defenses, watching if you notice. If you excuse the move, they learn that your boundaries are porous. Recognize the pattern early. Treat small acts as the seed of larger plays. The second task is counterplay. In chess, you do not respond to every pawn with equal force. You position strategically so that the cost of encroachment rises. Disrespect thrives when it feels cheap. Make it expensive. If someone interrupts, pauses, locks your gaze, then reclaim the floor without hostility. I'm not finished yet. This costs them social credibility. If a joke slides into insult, respond with a measured tone. That comment doesn't fit here. Weak. That kind of hurt me. Strong. That crosses the line. Notice the difference. One invites debate. The other closes it. You must arrange yourself so that any further move against you leads to disadvantage. The third task is scenario drilling. Anticipate if-then moves before they occur. If a superior dismisses your idea in public, then you request to revisit it one-on-one, preventing public erosion while still asserting its value. If a peer spreads rumors, then you address it directly with calm evidence, forcing them into exposure. If a subordinate shows repeated disregard, then you escalate discipline in stages, documenting every step. These are drills, rehearsals in the mind, so that when the move comes you act, not react. Chess is not about predicting every possibility, but preparing clear contingencies for the most likely ones. Consider a real moment of calm leadership. In a team meeting, someone attempts to undercut you with sarcasm. Instead of snapping back, you let silence hold for a second, then state firmly, "Let's stay on track." The room shifts. The offender looks isolated. You return to your point without losing rhythm. The board rebalances because you neither overplayed nor ignored the move. You controlled the tempo, and the game remained in your hands. The chessboard metaphor is brutal because it reveals that every exchange is cumulative. Respect is not lost in grand gestures, but in small, unchecked patterns. The careless joke, the ignored boundary, the shrug of dismissal, each one a pawn advancing. Allow them, and one day you face a promoted queen in the heart of your position. Stop them early, and the board bends to your strategy. Your discipline is the difference between defending the throne and surrendering it square by square. Study the patterns, prepare the counters, drill the scenarios, command presence not only in the moment, but in the anticipation of the moment. Every move you ignore is a move against your crown. Discipline is the foundation of power. Without it, the strongest throne is vulnerable. Each day presents subtle assaults on your composure. Emails laced with passive aggression, colleagues testing limits, friends probing weaknesses. Without an iron will, these micro-attacks accumulate, eroding status before you even realize. Harden yourself as a fortress is hardened. Stone by stone, habit by habit. Begin with physiological anchoring. Breathwork is not meditation fluff. It is a tactical reset. A slow, deliberate inhale followed by measured exhale signals to your nervous system that you remain in command. Posture is equally critical. Shoulders back, chest open, spine straight. Your body communicates authority long before words emerge. Micro-commitments, small consistent actions that reinforce discipline, compound over time. Drinking water first thing, completing tasks immediately, adhering to punctuality. These are drills that reinforce self-mastery. The body trained in control supports the mind in dominance. Historical examples reinforce the necessity of daily fortification. Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, practiced reflection and self-restraint to buffer against external turmoil. Machiavelli's contemporaries, facing conspiracies and shifting alliances, relied on steady habits to maintain clarity under pressure. They understood that emotional fortitude was not optional. It was armor. Without it, a prince's reputation could be undermined by rumor, impulse, or insult. Modern leaders emulate these principles. CEOs and political figures use routines, visualization, and measured response to prevent stress from dictating decisions. Neuroscience shows that self-regulation strengthens neural pathways, increasing resilience against provocation and enhancing cognitive control. Consistency in ritual creates a mental habit loop, reducing susceptibility to manipulation. Integrate these principles into a morning armor ritual. Begin with deep, controlled breathing, align posture, engage in deliberate micro-commitments, and reflect briefly on the day's priorities. Reinforce mental boundaries by reviewing possible scenarios where others might test limits. Anticipate challenges calmly, plan responses without emotional leakage. If a colleague attempts a subtle jab, respond with measured neutrality and redirect the conversation. Let's focus on the task. Weak, reacting defensively invites escalation. Strong, assert control while preserving composure. Your emotional fortress requires maintenance. Daily practice cements resilience, making insults ineffective and manipulation futile. The ritual is not a performance. It is internalized authority. Over time, others sense your unshakable composure. Their attempts to disrupt fail before execution. Status is defended not only by external maneuvers, but by the inviolable control of self. Establish the armor, train the body, anchor the mind, execute with deliberate intent, and nothing can pierce your calm. Fortify daily, the unshaken command of respect. Power that is unassailable begins within and radiates outward, making any attack costly and visible. Status becomes a fortress when mental clarity, social influence, and strategic execution align. Each action, word, and habit functions like a battlement, reinforcing perception and shielding against disrespect before it emerges. Your reputation becomes capital. Each respectful interaction, consistent boundary, and visible achievement deposits into it. The stronger the deposit, the heavier the cost for anyone attempting to undermine you. Public figures and executives who cultivate this consistently demonstrate that transgressions against them often rebound on the aggressor. Adopt the fortress doctrine. Know when to open the gates, selectively allow collaboration, mentorship, and access to influence others. These are calculated openings, where trust amplifies power. Equally, learn when to close gates. Denying repeated provocateurs or low-value requests preserves energy and authority. Machiavelli emphasized the importance of internal security, warning that external threats often exploit weak internal control. Modern examples abound. Leaders who enforce clear boundaries and maintain consistent public behavior deter harassment and microaggressions, their composed image amplifying deterrence. Strategically, your social allies function as bastions. Surround yourself with individuals who reinforce norms, defend boundaries, and elevate collective standards. Pack dynamics in business or politics mirror this principle. Loyalty and alignment amplify defensive and offensive potential. Pattern recognition allows early identification of potential threats or disrespectful maneuvers. Anticipate these with scenario drills and measured responses. If a subordinate or colleague undermines you subtly, respond with disciplined neutrality. We focus on the deliverable, redirecting energy without visible reaction. Weak, reacting emotionally invites repeated testing. Strong, Calmly enforce expectations while maintaining composure. Every interaction is a stone in your fortress. Fortify daily with rituals that reinforce self-control, reinforce social bonds with loyal allies, and execute with strategic foresight. Reputation capital and disciplined gates make disrespect both risky and ineffective. Your status, once consolidated, becomes self-reinforcing. An assault is unlikely to succeed and likely to backfire. By mastering mental, social, and strategic systems, you achieve untouchable presence without aggression, leveraging perception, consistency, and authority. Command your life like a citadel. Build, reinforce, defend, and project. Let your presence deter disrespect before it emerges. Your fortress stands, none breach it. The true battlefield of respect is invisible until you master its rules. Every interaction, every glance, every word functions as a move on a social chessboard. The 4 hidden acts of disrespect: covert, belittling, public undercutting, strategic exclusion, and subtle dominance tests threaten status precisely because they are unseen, calculated, and insidious. To survive and thrive, you must identify them, anticipate them, and neutralize them before they solidify into patterns that erode influence. Each act is a different form of attack, demanding a distinct countermeasure drawn from the arsenal you have methodically built throughout this guide. Covert belittling is the whisper that undermines confidence. It hides in tone, phrasing, and microaggressions. The predator prince counters it through inner assassin techniques, controlling self-sabotage, maintaining composure, and refusing to internalize the diminishment. By spotting internal vulnerabilities that make such attacks effective, you remove the ammunition and render the subtle jabs harmless. Daily rituals of mental fortification, including awareness of limiting beliefs and proactive behavioral purges, create a resilience so internalized that covert belittling strikes only the empty air. Public undercutting is the battlefield exposed, where rivals or peers attempt to diminish your authority openly. The solution is mastering the mask of command, projecting authority without overreaction. Non-verbal cues, posture, and deliberate silence become weapons. By exercising controlled fire, speaking only when it strengthens your position, you convert potential attacks into demonstrations of discipline and poise. Historical and contemporary examples confirm that those who maintain unshakable composure in public settings quickly gain reputational capital, discouraging repeated public undercutting. Strategic exclusion tests loyalty and power, isolating you from influence or decision-making. Morning battlefield routines and careful network cultivation counter this by reinforcing pack dynamics and selective recruitment. Allies act as bastions, defending your interests even in your absence. Machiavelli's distinction between auxiliaries and native troops illustrates the advantage of loyal networks. Those who understand the stakes and align with your standards amplify your power, ensuring that attempts to sideline you fail before they begin. Each ally is a turret in your fortress of status, deterring exclusion through visible loyalty and shared strategic objectives. Subtle dominance tests probe boundaries, gauging whether you yield under pressure or manipulation. Chessboard anticipation neutralizes this by pattern recognition, scenario drills, and strategic delay. Every calculated response demonstrates that crossing your boundaries is costly. Weak, reacting impulsively invites repeated testing. Strong, measured tactical action communicates authority without emotional leakage. The predator prince transforms, seeing every act of disrespect as a move to be countered, every challenge as an opportunity to reinforce dominance and credibility. The integration of all prior principles, morning routines, stillness, ruthlessness against repeat offenders, composure, self-mastery, ally building, anticipatory strategy, and emotional resilience creates invulnerability. You emerge as a social apex predator, poised, strategic, untouchable. Each hidden act of disrespect loses its power because you now operate with foresight, discipline, and reinforced authority. Your presence alone enforces boundaries, your reputation alone deters transgressions. The chessboard of life is no longer a maze of threats, but a field of controlled influence where you dictate the terms. Own your status decisively, control the moves before they happen. Let every hidden act meet its counter before it surfaces. Command respect, fortify loyalty, anticipate the challenge, and master the internal battlefield. See all moves, strike none unprepared. Your battlefield is within, and mastery begins there. Commanding yourself is the foundation for commanding respect. Every act of self-discipline is a fortified position on the social chessboard. Every deliberate posture, a turret that signals authority without uttering a word. Begin each day with a 30-second ritual. Square your shoulders, lift your chin, inhale deliberately, and exhale fully. Feel the alignment of mind and body, the settling of nerves into readiness. This simple practice resets your power posture, reinforces mental clarity, and establishes an internal perimeter that no subtle disrespect can breach. Tolerating slights, even minor ones, is slow attrition. Status erodes incrementally when boundaries are porous, and every tolerated insult is an open path for further incursions. Acting decisively signals that your presence is non-negotiable, that your authority is anchored in self-command rather than reactionary force. Use controlled pauses to observe microaggressions without yielding. A peer attempts to undermine you in a meeting. You maintain composure, respond factually if necessary, and continue. The impact is clear. Attempts to exploit hesitation fail, reinforcing your unassailable stance. Language shapes perception as much as posture. Weak, I guess it's fine. Strong, this is my position. Weak, I'm okay with that. Strong, I set the standard here. Strong, concise verbal framing communicates unwavering boundaries, amplifying your internal fortifications externally. Combine this with strategic ally reinforcement. Colleagues who understand and respect your boundaries serve as additional battlements, preventing repeated encroachments. Internal discipline, consistent rituals, and precise articulation create a feedback loop of respect. Every day, you reinforce the message. You are prepared, aware, and unshakable. Micro-commitments, like responding calmly to minor provocations or maintaining deliberate posture in brief interactions, accumulate, shaping perception and solidifying authority. Each repetition strengthens neural pathways of assertiveness, transforming automatic responses into deliberate command. Now adopt the mantra that unites intention and action. I command myself, I command respect. Repeat it before engagements, in moments of doubt and after challenges. Let it guide posture, breath, and decision-making. The stakes are clear. Passive tolerance diminishes status, while decisive self-command enforces it. This is survival, strategy, and mastery distilled into daily practice. Own your boundaries, fortify your presence, and act with unwavering intent. I command myself, I command respect.